Hey there, guitar fanatics. You know, far and away the most popular kinds of videos on my channel are ones where we take techniques like scales or arpeggios and we come up with innovative or even systematic ways to move them all over the neck. I've had several of these videos get over 100,000, even over 200,000 views. And these exercises are meant to help players learn the fretboard inside out so that you can go anywhere on the neck and find the notes you need and not get stuck. But being able to do the exercise is not the end goal. The end goal is to be able to use this fretboard freedom that you've been developing and to make up great licks, melodies, and phrases that you ultimately turn into killer guitar solos. But I've worked with a lot of players that start seeing the exercises as the end goal. Yeah, man, I really like that one. Give me another. Or they seem to have trouble bridging the gap between learning the shapes and then turning those shapes into legitimate lead guitar ideas. I had a viewer send me a comment about one of my most popular videos, and what he said was, "Great lesson, but I'd love to see examples of these techniques being used musically." I thought, great idea, because I know there are lots of people out there thinking the same thing. So today we're going to look at some common techniques that I've done lessons about. I'm going to show you how I go about turning them into licks and phrases with the idea that the ultimate practice exercise is to practice coming up with endless great lead guitar ideas and then to make music with them. So let's get into this and play some guitar. In the video that the viewer referenced, the idea was to really ingrain the major scale by combining arpeggio shapes and scale patterns. We would ascend, say, through a C major 7 arpeggio and descend through the C major scale. Move to the next arpeggio in the key, which is D minor 7. Do the same thing with the scale. Move on to the next chord, which would be E minor 7, etc., etc., etc. The idea is to get to where you can put on a metronome and play this exercise continuously from one end of the fretboard to the other. It's a great exercise, but a big part of the value is lost if you don't stop and spend some time thinking about what it is that you're playing. To start trying to see connections between the different arpeggios. To start identifying where the different arpeggio voicings sit within the scale patterns. And thinking about those things should in turn lead to the thought, how can I make licks out of this? A real turning point in my development as a player, a game changer really, was hearing Cliffs of Dover and this one particular lick that Eric Johnson played. If you think of the melody of Cliffs, it kind of sounds like a triad exercise from the key of G. A minor, G, D, G, D, E minor. And after playing the melody over the A minor, G, and D, he plays this fill lick over the next 3 chords where he outlines a D major triad leading to the G chord. And then he plays 3 notes from G major pentatonic, B, D, and E, before playing a G major triad, and finally an E minor triad. And that little passage changed my world. Before that, I was just trying to learn a bunch of licks and cram them together into something that sounded decent when I tried to play solos. But when I took the time to figure out what Eric did in that little lick, it was a huge aha moment and a clear signal to stop focusing on just techniques and try to focus on how to combine those techniques into good, solid musical statements. And that's been a major focus of my practice routines ever since. So that's the concept. Let's try making up some of our own licks. So we're going to use combinations of 3 different musical concepts. Arpeggios, and we're going to be using triads, we're going to be using 7th arpeggios, and even a shape where we add in the 9th to a 7th arpeggio. Some pentatonic runs and some fragments of the major scale. We're going to play over a backing track that's in B minor. B minor is the relative minor of D major. So D major is our parent key. And that opens up all the modes and arpeggios in the key of D as tools for soloing. Here are a couple of the arpeggio shapes that we're going to experiment with. Let's go up to the B at the 14th fret of the A string, and we can play B, D at the 12th fret of the D string, F sharp at the 11th fret of the G string, B at fret 12 of the B string, and then D and F sharp at frets 10 and 14 of the high E. Now, a lot of times players will run through an entire arpeggio shape, but remember, you don't have to do that. You can just use 3 or 4 notes of the arpeggio and use those as a jumping off point. Now there's another super useful shape that we can make off that B note at the 14th fret of the A string. Check out the diagram for the triad version. We'd have B, D, F sharp, B, D, F sharp, and B. And we can easily turn that one into a minor 7th arpeggio by adding the A note. So then we'd have B, D, F sharp, A, B, D, F sharp, A, and B. And then we can add some color into that shape by adding the 9th or C sharp, and we would play B, D, F sharp, A, C sharp, A, B, D, F sharp, A, and B. Cool. We've got B minor, D major pentatonic patterns we can draw from. We could use the box shapes. Or we could use some horizontal shapes. And we've also got fragments of the D major scale. I find it really useful to think about 6-note cells on 2 strings, like these on the E and B strings. Now this may seem like a lot of information, but we're not going to use it all at once. I'm just trying to lay out some possibilities. So let's start small and write a few licks. Let's go to the 12th fret area and the B minor arpeggio with the notes B, D, and F sharp. We're going to make this a minor 7th arpeggio by adding in the A note, and we're going to play A, B, D, F sharp, D, B, and A. And then we're going to play a descending 6-note fragment of the D major scale with E, D, C sharp, B, A, and G. And after playing that fragment, we're going to be in a perfect position to play B minor pentatonic pattern 1, adding in the E at the 12th fret of the high E string. And then once we have that template, so to speak, we could put on a backing track and experiment with the phrasing and the timing to see what we come up with. So let me put those 3 together just kind of clinically, and then we're going to give it a try over the backing track. So here's our template. Now let's try it over our track. All right, now we're off and running. Let's try another one, again, keeping it small. If we go up to the 14th fret, we've got this B minor triad at frets 16, 15, and 14 of the G, B, and E string. So we can add the A note to that and turn it into a minor 7. And then sliding into the B at fret 19 after playing the A at fret 17 on the high E, it puts us into a position to play 3 different 6-note cells on the E and B strings. And just ascending through them, descending through them, and sliding into the next pattern. Well, that sounds pretty cool. But we're going to make it sound even better with some phrasing. We're going to descend through that first cell, slide into the second one and ascend, and after we reach the highest note at fret 17, we're going to go to fret 15 and bend that A note up to B. We're going to release that bend and descend through the cell. Slide into the next one, do the same move by ascending and then bending back into that highest note. And now we're going to release that half step bend to the 14th fret, and we're going to do a very fast slide from 14 to 15 and back. Pull off to fret 12, play fret 15 and 14 on the B string. We're going to pause on that C sharp at fret 14 and then do another quick slide to fret 15 and back, and then pull off to the B at fret 12. So we've got another template now. And it would be time to go to the backing track and experiment with the phrasing and the timing. The little pauses, the slides, the bends, making them all fit. And I'd be really conscious of adding some nice vibrato to the last note of the phrase, which was at the B note at the 12th fret of the B string. Let's have a listen. All right, let's try one that's a little more complex. Let's play that B minor 7 off the root at the 14th fret of the A string, this shape. But we're going to add in that 9th when we ascend. So we're going to play B, D, F sharp, A, C, A, B, D, F sharp, and A. And from that A note, we can slide into the B at fret 19. And we're going to descend through a 6-note cell with the frets 19, 17, and 15 on both the E and the B strings. And then we're going to slide up to the 21st fret on the E string, and we're going to play frets 21, 19, 17 on the E, and then 20, 19, and 17 on the B string. And then we're going to play down B minor pentatonic pattern 1 up at the 22nd fret. We're going to play the notes on the E, B, and G strings, the B, G, and D strings, and then the G, D, and A strings. Finishing on the E note at fret 19 of the A string. So it's kind of cool. We're creating a strong rhythmic motif with the groups of 6 to finish up that lick. Here's our whole template slowly. Now it's time to throw in that backing track, and you know it, experiment with the phrasing and the timing. To really take that idea, polish it up, and make it fit over some real music. We could keep going all day with this process. And if I had the time, that's what I'd spend a good part of the day doing. I've done multiple videos on how to learn and practice all of these techniques. Arpeggios, pentatonics, the major scale. But there comes a time when the responsibility is on you as a player to take these tools. And techniques are just tools. Remember, they're not the end goal. And to start making up your own licks and solos with them. You can learn endless licks of other players, but sooner or later you've got to start putting this stuff together into something that you can call your own. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have fun with this stuff, even though sometimes it seems like it's hard work. Remember that we're still getting to play guitar and play music. What could be better than that? Take care. I'll see you soon.